We're learning more about Cambridge Analytica and its mining of data on millions of Americans for political purposes. According to The Guardian, the firm harvested personal data from U.S. voters without permission. The company, which was headed at the time by former Trump advisor Steve Bannon, has since been suspended from Facebook. Dan Patterson is a senior writer for Tech Republic who's been following the developments very closely. Dan, what can you tell us about exactly what Cambridge Analytica was able to get?
Cambridge Analytica used surveys and a number of other tactics to exploit a loophole in the Facebook API that allowed them to extract data from the social network. They then used machine learning and big data analytics to build profiles about voters. They also exploited some of the worst tendencies of voters. For example, in order to pull information from the Facebook API, a user needs to interact with that asset, meaning you have to do more than just click like, you have to do something, be engaged with that asset. Once you engage with that asset, Facebook gives a company a tremendous amount of information. So Cambridge took that data and they built profiles, psychographic profiles as they say, but what that really means is just like in other advertising mediums, they built profiles of voters and used information to trigger those voters in order to perform an action. In this case, the action was vote for a particular candidate.
So how do I know if they have taken my data?
You may not know if they've taken your data, but the best way to use any social network, this isn't just about Facebook, it's about every algorithmically based network that includes Google and Twitter, is to assume your data is being harvested by somebody somewhere. This isn't really about Cambridge Analytica. This is about the ability for companies to extract information from social networks and use that information to market things to you.
So Facebook says they've now suspended Cambridge Analytica, and they've also changed the way people can obtain data, according to them. The chief operating security officer for Facebook said on Twitter, this wasn't so much a breach as it was someone taking advantage of the system. Do you buy that?
I do buy that. This is a tactic called cognitive hacking. This isn't so much an exploit in the code or a loophole that we think of when we think about traditional hacking. This was hacking our minds and our behavior and using some of the worst impulses to extract information for very cynical purposes.
But on the other side of this, people say this is a massive abuse of data. You're taking people's information without them even knowing it, no sort of red flags raised, and we have no idea what it's being used for.
It could be a massive abuse of data. I think that although social media and social networks provide a lot of really useful features, we have very little information about what information is gathered about us. There's very little transparency. We could see laws like Europe's right to be forgotten adopted here in the United States, but honestly, very few people are aware that your phone is listening to you right now, beyond just Siri or Alexa. Social networks are also listening to you and using that to do what's called retargeting or arbitraging advertisements and selling you products.
You're a Facebook user. What does this mean for you, and how do you protect yourself? Is there any sort of way?
If you are a Facebook user, this impacts you whether your data was gathered by Cambridge Analytica or not, because this, again, isn't really about them. It's about how all companies can extract information from social networks to target you with information. So yes, if you're a Facebook user, you should be concerned. What you can do is limit the amount of information that you share with the social network, limit the browser that you use on the social network, and make sure that you take those apps off of your phone.
So when you say limit the information you post, what should I do? Stop posting pictures on vacations, news articles? Where do you limit yourself?
Limit yourself where your comfort is, but make sure that you don't necessarily share your exact age, your exact name, your exact location. You don't owe the social network any of that data, and your friends and family will still be able to follow you and like you and interact with you.
What about access to private messages? Do you think that they have access to that?
Whether I think they have access to that or not, I would imagine that the company wouldn't build a system without having that information. So I would behave in a way that reflects a belief that they could access that data.
Dan Patterson, thank you for joining us, Dan.
Thank you.